The strategies and concepts discussed are for educational purposes only and do not represent specific investment, tax, or estate planning advice. Investing carries an inherent element of risk, and it is in everyone's best interest to consult tax, legal, or an investment professional. John Cindia is an investment advisor representative of, and advisory services are offered through USA Financial Securities, member FINRA SIPC, a registered investment advisor. Life Stages Advisory, Dean, and Remington are not affiliated with USA Financial Securities. Happy New Year, everybody, and welcome to episode 48 of WTF, Wealth, Tax, and Finances. I'm your host, John Cindia, certified public accountant and personal financial specialist. Since it's the new year, what I'd like to start off with is, since COVID is behind us now, hopefully it's behind us, 2020 is behind us, put it that way. We might still have some lingering effects of COVID, but let's get over that. This is a new year. And with the new year, some people may end up having to start a business. And what we wanted to do today was get you some ideas of exactly what it is and what it takes to get your business started, okay? Normally what you end up having to do is you got to get a business plan together. And a business plan is, it can be anywhere from something fairly brief to something fairly extensive. But you're usually going to have about 7 to 8, maybe 9 different areas in that business plan that are going to be looked at from a perspective of someone either trying to loan you money, like a bank, if you have other investors or whatever. So normally you're going to have to come up with an executive summary. And the executive summary is basically going to say, your background, who you are, where you came from, what your experience has been. Do you have any certifications? What degrees do you have? They want to know everything about you from the perspective of you being able to run that business. Now, that's from an individual perspective. So you need to also get it to the point, if it's going to be a larger organization or some type of a corporation, you're going to have several employees or other individuals that are going to help you run that business. You may be the president or the CEO. You're going to have maybe a chief financial officer. A few people could end up being 2 or 3 different things. They could be a marketing director and operations, whatever. So in that executive summary, you're going to have to outline not only the positions and give yourself an organization chart as to who is reporting to whom at that point, but finding out exactly whose duties and spelling out the different aspects of each position from that business plan. When you separate responsibilities from the different positions that you're going to be looking at for support, whether it's marketing, operations, you're going to have payroll or human resources that would all be intertwined into those. So what you're going to have is basically an outline for the bank or for the institution that's going to probably end up giving you a loan for startup expenses and everything. So in that summary is all the personnel that you would have, what their duties are, and the descriptions and their background of their biographical, educational, and experience information. Then you're going to have another section that's going to be about the business concept. So what is the business? Is it a manufacturing type organization? Is it going to be a service entity? You're going to be an accountant or an attorney or a physician that you're going to have? Is it going to be a manufacturing organization? Is it going to be a construction company? So what's the concept and what exactly are you going to be building, servicing, or the type of entity that you're going to have? So that business concept is going to set the foundation for some of the other pieces that you're going to have in there. And you're going to have then define your market. So the market analysis piece is also going to have to outline exactly where are you going to be from a geographic standpoint. Is it going to be local? Is it going to be like a statewide, national, or could it even be an international type of a practice or business? So you have to define that market. You have to see exactly who it is and pinpoint who you're going to end up having suppliers and everything. And then when you end up selling this product, it's who you're going to be selling it to. Is there an age differentiation? Is it going to be certain? Is it going to be sold to males or females or older, younger people? Is it going to be a household item? What is that going to be? And so you're going to have that market analysis so that you can tell the bank exactly, okay, I've got this service business that I'm going to have. We're going to be marketing. Is it going to be into everyday individuals on an individual basis? Is it going to be more for a corporate environment? Is it going to be for museums? Are they going to be decorative? Whatever. So once you do, you figure out the product that you're going to have and that market, then you're going to have, you got to set that plan out. You have to provide everything for the business group that's looking to finance you or to put money in from that aspect, so that they understand exactly what this business is going to do, how it's going to function, where it's going to, who it's going to sell to. So that marketing plan then would be part of or branch out then into the sales environment. How are you going to have this thing sold? Are you going to have distribution points? Are you going to have other salespeople? Are you going to have manufacturing reps? You're going to have different types of people that are going to be subcontracted to sell this. Is it going to be in retail, wholesale? How is that going to be handled? And then once you end up having the finances for this, you've got to be able to put that financial plan in. And it's usually 3 to 5 year budget that you have to put in. So how many of these am I going to sell? What's the price point that I'm going to have to sell those at? What are my expenses going to be? Where's the location, your rents, your insurances? So you have to come up with a budget and a plan that encompasses all the expenses that you're going to have in there. And then how do you plan on increasing profits? Since it's a startup, you're going to have to come up with some suppositions, and assuming that you have X amount of people or salespeople, how do you get them into the how do you get them out into the workplace so that they can sell these? Are they going to have different distribution sites or whatever? And from each of these, you're going to end up putting that consolidated plan together and come up with your financials. At that point, then you run a cash flow analysis. You're going to either lose money or make money, and then you start investing that, and then hoping that within the next year or so, you're going to be showing a profit for the bankers, for any of the investors, for yourself, and everything else. So it's comprehensive. It will take you several hours to get these things together, days. You might even have weeks into this thing to plan to do something proper. And I've seen business plans, like I said before, anywhere from 7 pages or 10 pages into a very comprehensive several hundred pages into a business plan. And there again, it all depends on the size of what you're looking at from an entity standpoint, to the number of people that are going to be involved, and to what are you going to have a service business, which is not very, not very capital intensive, to something that if you're going to have a trucking company, you're going to have a fleet of trucks, you're going to have buildings and warehouses and everything. So the capital expenditure side of that is a whole nother section of the business plan, should you go into something that is that capital intensive. The other thing is that you have to file for a federal identification number as that employer, and then it's a matter of what type of an entity are you. If it's a sole member LLC, you can have a limited liability company, you can have limited partnerships, you can have partnerships, corporations, S-corps, and normally you end up registering with the state that you're in. And you have to do a full registration statement. You have those filed, and with your federal ID, and you're pretty much ready to go at that point. But at least it gets the business plan in there, and then you have to have that submitted to what I would say is either, normally it's to a bank, and if you don't have a relationship with any bank or anything, you're going to probably float this business plan to at least 2 or 3 different banks that if you haven't worked with anybody in particular on the business or corporate end, then I would say that this is something you're going to have to look at very intently, and make sure that you have a total understanding of not only your business plan but the concept when you go in there to speak to these individuals, because they will be grilling you and asking you all kinds of different questions about different things that they're going to be concerned of, which is mainly getting their money back with an interest rate. And with past experience and everything, it doesn't really matter how large or how small the business is. They're probably going to end up having you sign as an individual. So you're going to have personal guarantees into that. So if the business does fail, you're going to be on the hook for it personally also. So regardless of the type of entity you're in, you will be having some type of personal liability on that. So that's a whole nother aspect of this thing. But what you want to do is make sure that you've got yourself covered with plenty of liability insurance, and making sure that if anything goes south on the business, that you're covered from that aspect, and do as much as you can so there's not going to be a bankruptcy 3, 4, 5 years down the road. Whenever you do the plan and you start running a business, most people that I've known that have done something on the side, started out as a hobby. The hobby becomes a business, now becomes serious, and they get themselves into trouble because now all of a sudden it's not fun anymore. So what you need to do is make sure that when you get into it, business is that it's serious. You have to maintain your head about you and everything, and not be too lackadaisical in what you're doing, because if you are, then that's going to be a pretty good sign that that business isn't going to really succeed. So what you need to do is make sure that when you get these the plans together, you have the business plan set up, you get the finances going and everything, that you stick to that plan. And if you go through that plan, that should be a plan for success that is going to allow you to turn a profit on that business. I've got Remington and Dean in here now that I've narrated off of that. Yes, hello. For that period of time. We were laughing in here a little bit earlier. Hopefully none of that will get onto this. I don't know.
We'll see.
But
some words that you use that make me laugh.
Oh, yes. We're not using those today.
No more.
But Dean, you were saying that you were thinking about doing something, starting some type of small business with one of your relatives or something, or?
Yeah, so the idea was just a car detailing, auto detailing. Mm-hmm. In our area, there's only, there's maybe like 1 or 2 actual shops, and then a lot of people just kind of do it on the side. Mm-hmm. So, like, if you ask around, like, people that are actually in, like, the car community, they'll name off 10 people, but these are all people that just do it for fun. They don't actually,
right.
It's kind of just something they do on the side to make a little bit of extra cash. Well, I'd kind of wrote up, not necessarily a business plan, but kind of what it would take to get started, mm-hmm. Type of things we'd need to buy, keeping track of, like just the inventory and the process of the way we do things, and just all that stuff, where we would do it at, what it would take to get insurance, what it would take to start up LLC, all that stuff. Mm-hmm. And I told you, me and my brother, we did one car, and he kind of dropped out on me. So I don't know, I've still kind of considered it to maybe do on the side for myself, but mm-hmm. it would probably be similar in fashion to how a lot of the other people around here do it,
Doing it for extra money and stuff.
Just a little side gig, make $500 a month off of it or something. But mm-hmm. There's still a lot involved, but I think the cool thing with the auto detailing, and like you had mentioned earlier, just starting up a service, is usually you don't have a whole lot of upfront costs.
Right.
Like, in terms of auto detailing, I have a lot of stuff I bought for my own car anyways, so mm-hmm. I already have a lot of the product that I would need, a lot of the tools that I would need. So really it would just be in terms of like probably like building up a Facebook page or a website, and
right.
kind of, getting some business cards, marketing myself to like, hey, this is something I do. Mm-hmm. I detail cars. But there's still a decent amount involved, but I think it'd be a good way to make some extra cash, really.
Sure.
I don't think there's a whole lot of ways you can go wrong with that. And just like watching videos on YouTube and looking things up online, there's a lot of people who they do it and they make a lot of money doing it. So
Sure. And that's the thing. I think if you are doing it as additional money as opposed to doing it full time, once you do it full time, now it's getting serious, and that's when you're going to have this business plan to make sure that, it's repeatable. It's something that, you have the capital structure set up for that, you can rent a larger place. Because if you're going to do a one-off, you're probably doing it in your garage or whatever.
right, and that was what the case was going to be for us. And then something to think about, in Ohio is when it gets cold out, can't do it in my driveway.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you kind of almost like need somewhere to.
You got to rent a space. You're going to
you got to rent something out, and
right.
you have to also think that like people don't really want their cars detailed a whole lot in the wintertime anyways, because they're just going to get really, really dirty really, really fast.
Right.
So I don't think someone's going to come in and spend $250 on an exterior detail, and then as soon as they leave, they got salt all over it.
Right.
So
right.
yeah, it's just there's things to consider, and I mean there's downfalls and pitfalls to every type of business you could ever think of. But that was just like one big idea for me, is like, hey, this would be something to make a little bit of extra cash. I enjoy doing it, but and then that comes down to the same thing that you just mentioned about the do you enjoy it, and now you're doing it full time, and now you don't enjoy it anymore because it's serious, and that's something that you would really, really want to consider, and that's something I haven't considered. Is like, hey, if this actually did somehow take off and it ended up making me enough money or a little more money than my current job makes me to be able to quit,
right?
Is it worth it? Am I gonna go crazy that I have my own business to manage and maintain now, and now it's a little more serious because I don't know how my bills are gonna get paid if I don't, keep working. Like, there's a lot of things to think about. So can't kind of just jump in and be like, here's what we're going to do, because that's kind of how my brother was.
Right.
And it's just being honest. Like,
it's
just, we're going to do this, we're going to do this. And then you're like, yeah, it kind of doesn't work like that.
Yeah, I've got some contractors that do the same thing, and they started up from a standpoint that they do some remodeling for a friend or on a house, and then they got a referral over and everything, and then all of a sudden it became serious, and now they're having to go to the bank because of the expansion and need cash flow funds because they have payroll. They've got 2 or 3 jobs going on at one time rather than just one. And now they've got to get a larger and a better, newer truck, and they've got to get a lot of equipment and everything else. So all of a sudden it gets real serious, and it's like, okay, I hope you really wanted to do this, because if you're good at it,
yeah,
and now you can start making money.
You better start turning down business if you're not really interested in doing it that way.
Yeah, because we've got a couple of different car detailing, or an actual car repair shop at this point. They do some detailing, but mainly it's automotive repair. We've got several different contractors, and this last year, with everybody staying home, they've done a lot of improvements to the house, inside, outside, additions, roofing, everything you can think of from that standpoint. And their business has just, doubled and tripled and everything. So now they've gotten to the point, it's like, hey, how do I get this truck financed? Should I pay cash? It's like, no, the financing and stuff is so good at this point, and the rates are so low. It's like, use somebody else's money, keep that cash there.
Yeah,
so
you're killing yourself by using your sitting cash for that.
Yeah, so it's gotten to the point where we've had to do some consulting with the clients and making sure that they understood exactly how to utilize that money best, and help them develop a business plan. So I may have gone through that fairly quickly, giving you a summary of that, but you can go online and just Google business plan or whatever, get 2 or 3 different pull off 2 or 3 different topics that you can get from that, and they will end up getting more detailed for you and give you different examples of that. Or you can contact us, or contact a local accountant, CPA that's in your area or whatever, and have somebody sit down with you and give you an outline of exactly what's there. And like I say, once you start thinking about it, what it is, do you need tools? What tools are you going to need? Are you going to need a single or double bay building for like some of the car repairs or whatever you're doing? Is there going to be some other things that you're going to need? You're going to need other personnel in there. So there's a lot of different things. You just jot them all down and you summarize that, and then you start to consolidate them into these different topics in these areas within the business plan. And it, like I say, it takes a while to get this out. If you have any diagrams, you've got a specific building, add all of that in there. If you know of a location where you're going to be, anything you can put in that shows the bank or the investors that you're serious about what you're doing, it's going to be, the more you have in there in the content, the more successful you're going to be with acquiring funds and things to, help finance that business and get started. You don't want to ever be underfunded. We've seen some businesses that have been underfunded and somebody's wanted to do, and they just ran themselves right in the ground because they couldn't turn the money over fast enough to get in to keep growing, and they didn't go to the bank or they were turned down, and it didn't look like it was they had it thought out, and they ended up going bankrupt and going under. So it's a serious situation, but once you do it and you do it properly, especially in light of everything that's happened over the last year or so with the economy and so many other people either losing their jobs or wanting to get something started that they've wanted to for a long time, I think this would be important to just to get started on the right foot. So you guys have any other questions about anything? If not,
no more
hopefully
questions.
this will be a good way to start the new year off. Hopefully it's going to be helpful. Like us, love us, whatever you can do. Give us your topics. jcindia at lifestagesadvisory.com
Follow
is
us
the
on
email.
the new YouTube.
The new YouTube channel. And is there a certain address that they have to?
Just type in wealth, taxes, and finances.
Okay.
I think maybe adding with Sean Cindia helps you find it faster since it's relatively small, but
Okay.
it'll be there.
All right. Sounds good. Until next episode, thanks, and we'll talk to you soon.